This show started. Good evening and welcome everyone and a very, very happy new year. My name is Mark Davis. I'm director and principal at the UK College of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy. And thank you for indulging me in being able to do this event that I like to do on New Year's Day, because it's a powerful time. The year ahead beckons in front of us. I think I wrote in the email like a field of new fresh snow, and there's no path in it yet, and 2024 is behind us. So I want to offer this to you and to anyone listening as a way to really empower yourself to create something really wonderful, free of the past, and to step into the power of your own creativity to create something really beautiful for you in 2025. So, yeah, let's dive in and go into these themes here that we've got, which is love, stillness, and imagination. And I'll unpack those for you. I want to say just right at the start, if you're enjoying this, and I know some of you studying with me, some of you studied with me, some of you work with me, and some of you are joining me perhaps for the first time. And I want to say a particularly big welcome to you, but welcome to everybody, and from wherever you're connecting in the world. I'd love to hear where you're connecting from, by the way. And to let you know that if you enjoy this, I'm doing a much more expanded version on Saturday called The Power of Self-Hypnosis to Achieve Your 2025 Goals. And here we're really going to go into how to use the power of your mind and imagination to kind of pre-pave your 2024. Of course, you can't pre-pave what's going to happen to you, but you can pre-pave, rehearse the positive possibilities in terms of the way you'd like to be thinking, feeling, and responding, the things that are within your sphere of control, if you will. So if you want to join me for that, that's going to be very powerful. And I set myself a ridiculous challenge of teaching self-hypnosis, teaching meditation, teaching self-hypnosis, how hypnosis works, how to do it, how to write suggestions, how to formulate suggestions, how to look at your goals you want to achieve, put those into suggestions, and then how to write your own suggestion script and record it for 2025, and how to use it all within 4 hours. It's a crazy agenda. So, but join me. We'll have fun going through that. And if you can't, don't worry. That's fine. Let's dive in tonight. Here we are, January 1st, right at the start of a new year. How powerful. Let's go in. So I put some slides together this year because one of the reasons is my voice is a little crock, as you can hear, and I'm coming down with something. I've got my hot honey and ginger here. I might, for some of the experiences, turn to some recordings that I've got of these. So apologies, but I think I will be able to do most of the presentation. Let's see how we do. So, love, stillness, imagination, cultivating a year of possibilities. Actually, I would amend that, cultivating a year of positive possibilities. That's what we're going to be rehearsing through getting into a space of stillness, love, and then imagining positive possibilities. And in this way, setting our whole system up to be experiencing and doing those. Chris says, off the coast of Norway on a ship, not bobbing in the water. Fantastic. Leeds, Ireland, fantastic. Czech Republic, welcome. So here's our content we're going to go through. We're going to be looking first at stillness, and the ideas around that. I'm going to lay down some of the core concepts first. Love, love, and then imagination, the catalyst for change. And then we're going to go into a number of guided experiences. So I want to take you into the experience of how to still the mind, how to stop the mind, how to rest in stillness. And then once in that space, how to then cultivate. It's called love, a pleasant feeling. Some people might want to call it bliss, but just a kind of a loving, positive atmosphere in your mental space, so to speak. And from there, then, allowing your imagination to play around different positive possibilities. And then we'll put that all together into an experience. And I want you to leave with a real understanding of the ideas, lots of different tools for being able to stop the mind and center yourself, become centered in stillness, expand that feeling with not just an empty, cold feeling, but a warm, kind of welcoming awareness feeling, if we will. And then from there, understanding the power of imagination and how then to just allow yourself to imagine many different positive things and how powerful that is, particularly once we've centered the mind in this way. So these are the core ideas. Stillness as the foundation of clarity. Yeah, and oh, there's a slides I wanted to put in. I've forgotten now, but I'll talk through this. In terms of thinking about your mental space as being like a container, and that container's got just a lot of chaotic energy going on a lot of the time, right? Thoughts are kind of scattered going and just, or just the same kind of rigid chains of thinking are going on. And what we want to do is kind of stop all of that for an instant and then recenter it in a much more positive, helpful direction. And doing that all within an atmosphere of positive feeling. Yeah, positive feeling. Yeah, whether you want to call that love, whether you want to call that pleasant relaxation, whether you want to call that bliss, whether you want to call that peace, I don't mind. But I think you get the sense of that, yeah? And then imagination as a tool for shaping new possibilities. But first, let's strike a few high notes. I mean, it's been challenging. 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, been challenging times. And I want to just introduce a few key ideas here, some quotes to get us going. And I love Alan Watts, some of you know. And I love this quote from Alan Watts. He says, "You didn't come into this world, you came out of it like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here." You didn't come into this world, you came out of it like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here. What does that bring up for you as you read that, as I say that? You know, one of the fundamental things we feel is isolated and disconnected. We're going to prove ourselves, we're going to be better or whatever. But he's saying we're not. We're an emergence of the universe itself, herself, if you will. Oh, I don't want to go there yet. We're an emergence from it, belonging. And also, here's the question: well, if this wave that has got this very specific focus and thoughts and stories going on for a minute, if its kind of focused energy dissolves a little and it becomes more oceanic in its feeling, less focused but more kind of oceanic in its feeling, what's happening then in terms of who, or rather what are you at that moment? So this idea that's within Alan Watts there, that your true nature is the ocean. Yeah. When you let go of being sort of focused here with these tasks, with thoughts and focused in time and space, and you just let everything dissolve, what are you dissolving back into? It's really, of course, and this ties up with for those of you who don't know, I have a big background in Indian philosophy, and this ties up with that. But yeah, it's not just not alone. It means you are an expression of the whole universe, and that when you kind of dissolve a little bit in terms of your specific focus and soften your focus, you can come back to feeling that sense of actually being part of all of this, or even maybe even one with it if you want to get mystical. Once you have that feeling and that sense and keep coming back to it, not just once, you have to repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. Yeah, and we're all connected. Yeah. We're being lived by life. Beautiful. Yeah. As you come back to that, then the fear evaporates. Yeah. Fear evaporates. So, but let's have a look at some of the things also. So we can relax our focus maybe and come back to this oceanic feeling. We can also work with the thoughts we have. So this comes from the great sage Epictetus. This is the kind of basics of cognitive therapy. It is our attitudes towards events, not events themselves, which we can control. Nothing by its own nature is calamitous, yeah? Nothing is by its own nature calamitous. Even death is terrible only if we fear it. Nothing by its own nature is terrible, awful, disastrous. It is our attitude or our judgments towards it. And we have complete freedom. It's the one freedom we have. Maybe there are a few, but we can talk about focus versus relaxing the focus, but also the ability to change our judgments, our attitude. No one can take that away. People can imprison our body, do terrible things to us, our culture, our families, but we still have this one string we can play, which is our attitude. There's an instrument in India called the ektar, and it just has a single string, and that's the one string we've got. Is we can change our attitude, yeah, and therefore within that there's freedom. And here, one of my great quotes that I love about freedom from Jean-Paul Sartre, the existentialist: freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. So, let's let go of all this sort of blame about what's been done to us by society, parents, whatever, ex-husbands, ex-wives, whatever, and choose freedom. Choose freedom. And there's a particular type of freedom I'm going to emphasize here. Jean-Paul Sartre is very much talking about, creating your own meanings from things and also then choosing your behavior. But there are some other choices that are available to us. Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. And then to the great Albert Ellis, and people know me, I know I love Albert Ellis. The best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. You do not blame them on your mother, the ecology, or the president. You realize that you control your own destiny. So I think that might be quite apropos for this time, whichever side of the political spectrum you are. Let's stop blaming presidents and things like this and take control of our own destiny. Yeah. The best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. And let's see if we can really step into the power of that. And what we're going to be looking at first of all is stillness. And stillness, I have a big background in the yoga tradition. Not all the postures so much. All right, a little, but particularly meditation. And this is from Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, which is kind of the classical text for yoga. And the second sutra there, Yoga Chitti Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the stilling of the turnings, the vritti of the mind. And for me, this has always been this idea that yoga is stilling the mind, stopping the mind, has been just essential. It's the very center of so much of what I do and so much of what I try to teach. And when I'm working with clients as well, I'm usually teaching them some techniques just to be able to stop this chatter in the mind and rest in their own stillness, in their own being. The sutra that follows from this says, and then the experiencer can rest in their own nature. Else they get caught up with the content and identify with the content of the mind. And so this is the point here. And this is what we're going to be looking at is to rest in our own nature. And through resting in our own nature, be in touch with our deepest values and inspirations and creativity that is not born from just the turnings of the mind, but from something deeper, something more integrated, and something more organic and whole within us than spinning around on the edge of our mind. So yoga is the stilling of the turnings of the mind. Now, a lot of people get in trouble with this because you try to stop your mind. You can't stop your mind, and have lots of discussions with different yoga philosophy teachers about this. You can. I'm going to show you some very rapid techniques for just stopping the mind, just for an instant. You can't stop it forever. That would be very odd, because the fundamental nature of things is dynamic, is movement, yeah, and stilling the mind is stillness, and life is dynamic. So it's not that we're going to stop the mind and then we're going to rest and walk around like a completely still zombie the rest of our life. It's that we can stop the mind and rest in our center, and then from there re-engage with life. And of course, the mind will come back in. There'll be thoughts, but every time we stop the mind, we kind of, in a way, free ourselves from the continual automatic thinking habits of the past. And that allows something new to happen. Yeah, it's like allowing It's like winter where everything goes back into the ground, and then spring something comes back out again. But this can be something you can practice many times a day and allowing the mind to dissolve. I think dissolve is a nicer idea, dissolving the mind. Yeah. In the tradition that I study in, uh, the mind is just a contraction of awareness, and that when you dissolve thoughts, then there is just awareness, and then it contracts into the experience of the thoughts that you're having, so that the mind is a contraction of something more fundamental, which is awareness or consciousness. So dissolving the mind back into that, again, that oceanic feeling. Yeah. This is a quote from the Bhagavad Gita, which I like this. When I can barely see it actually, because it's right at the top. When the mind is mastered, the mind is unwavering, like the flame of a candle in a windless place. And I think this is a really interesting idea as well. Yeah, the idea that so often our minds just wobble. I'm passionate about removing the wobble. Yeah, and so that our minds are steady. So we can be still. We can have an experience of beauty or love or sensuality or whatever, and our mind doesn't have to immediately come in and start thinking and analyzing it, and therefore breaking up that beautiful experience. We can stay in the music without thinking about it, and then when it's time to think, we can think in a very focused, very clear way without this scattered energy. So, taking the scattered energy of the mind, bringing it all into a stillness, and then establishing steadiness. Steadiness of mind is yoga, or evenness of mind is yoga, is another quote from the Bhagavad Gita. So, that idea, what would that be like if your mind was as steady as the flame of a candle in a windless place? Even that image, and they think of a candle burning and it's flickering slightly. And then when there's no wind, it's just got this continual stream upwards. Even as you contemplate that image, can you feel your mind may be becoming a little still? Imagine the flame flickering, the mind's wobbling a little, and then the flame steadies. Suddenly there's no wind. And then now there's just a stream. The candle is steady, and the heat streams perfectly upward. You see, some of you, and I just made that up there, but I mean, there's a little micro meditation, but can you catch that? This is the real skill. The real skill isn't doing long meditations. Okay, long meditations are just frustrating. I don't like to do them because my mind sort of, but is to allow to do something like that and then just become still for a few moments, and then just become still for a few moments. Micro meditations. Yeah. Don't try and stay in there that long either. Micro meditations that calm the mind, still the mind. And just the other thing is we have so many experiences of stillness that we miss. We feel like stillness is something that's a long, long way off. It's not. You step out the front door and suddenly, oh, the fresh air, the air sort of greets you, and the light, and just for a moment, the mind is stopped. Somebody tells a joke and you're laughing, and there's no mind. In fact, there's not even any difference between you and the people there. Yeah, gone. You have a really big yawn and you're totally absorbed. There's no mind. It's gone. Stillness, absorption, you see? Rather than stepping back, thinking about, just completely absorbed in the experience. Dance, of course. So, stillness, the gateway to creativity. This stillness, it's dissolving. The problem is the thoughts just keep looping around, don't they? And what we want to do is break those automatic chains, those automatic loops, dissolve all of that energy kind of back into the fundamental ground or the fundamental being from which the mind comes. And that opens the space for newness, for new possibilities. When they ask people to go and put people in a brain scanner, ask them not to do anything, you can see this particular area of the brain becomes very active called the default mode network. And this is essentially mind wandering or mental chatter. Now, if you somebody has who stills the mind, that area is not very active. But generally, when people aren't being stimulated, engaged on the outside, this whole internal thing goes on, and it just keeps looping round and round. And it's interesting to analyze the content of our mental chatter and see what it is. Very often, it's going over different social situations, arguments. How about handle this? I should have said that. Blah, 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 what, and all things that actually key us up for more problems. We're probably rehearsing. We're not exactly rehearsing with great love and conviction, positive possibilities, and how we would really like things to be, how we'd really like to be. We're just letting things spin out. So this is about taking control. This is about empowering yourself through stopping the chatter of the default mode network and centering. And within that, there is freedom. So, we talked about Epictetus talks about the freedom to choose to choose a different thought, to have a different attitude, and Sartre's talking about the freedom to of a different meaning about what's happened to you. Freedom is what you do, what you make from what's been done to you. But I want to offer the idea of freedom here as just for a moment, stopping the mind and really letting it sink into its own essence. Yeah, and that breaks the continual habits of the conditioned mind. My mental chatter likes to become most active about 4 a.m. Yeah, yeah. Well, this is it. But then there are, Jessica, there are different methods you can have to actually look at this lovely line here. I love this. Quell the storytelling of the mind. It's telling stories. We're telling stories all the time. Yeah. And I love that idea, or just that instruction. Right now, quell the storytelling of the mind. Just even sometimes just with your intention, with that idea to quell the storytelling, calm it, still it, stop it, just for a moment. Don't try and hold on for it too long because this underlying energy behind the mind is dynamic and creative. It seeks to create all of this and all of us and everything that's going on. So don't think you can control the mind like that, but you can for a moment still it and harness that energy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Such a big books to read by Ian McGilchrist to get there. But yeah, I would point him exactly, Kay. I would point him to progressive muscle relaxation, um, which we're going to do a little bit of, which is basically that the thinking involves the muscles of the body. And I don't know, I haven't read Ian McGilchrist's work, but what I see again and again is people are caught up in psychology or neuroscience. What they don't, what they forget is that the proper term is psychophysiology. That term actually was first, I believe, introduced by James Braid, who came up with the word neurohypnology for hypnosis and then called it hypnosis. Actually, he didn't. He called it hypnotism. Hypnosis came later as a term. And but then he proposed to call it psychophysiology because of the ideas are physiological events in the body. So it's not like stuff's going on in the brain here on its own. Maybe occasionally the brain can do its own little loops inside itself, but essentially it's an integrated whole with the whole body. When you are thinking, you're thinking with the whole body. When you relax and learn to really relax the muscles of the body, particularly the face, the mind stops. And literally, you can't really think without your muscles. So, this is what we want to do here is one of the things we're going to do is learn the technology of very quickly now relaxing the different muscles involved. But before we get there, let's look. Once we've created that stillness and settled in, we just don't want to be there with just a kind of like, kind of zombied out sort of, but not particularly pleasant, but just kind of not a cold, but not a warm relaxation. We want to really create a very warm space. So we're going to focus on filling, if we will, the void of stillness with a positive atmosphere. Yeah. You can call that love. You could call that peace. You could call that loving awareness, warm awareness, but a warmth that is more like an atmosphere within which you're resting in that stillness. And then working on developing that. That idea that we can still the mind, stop everything that's going on in terms of thoughts and emotions, and that very much that from coming from really stilling the behavior of all the muscles, and then from there beginning to expand positive feeling as a little discipline. Yeah. Now it's interesting. I was reading a paper about depression, and they one of the studies there had shown that depression didn't seem to come from a particular one of two particular events, were more represented as a sort of a build up of a catalog of sort of small negative feelings every day. So this is people having kind of 100 or 200 moments a day when they're like, oh, they have, if we want, a negative thought, and then they're feeling typically down, sad, fearful, angry, or whatever, but an aversive, uncomfortable emotion. And that I was commenting on Twitter with the person who wrote the paper. I said, it seems like you're saying basically that sort of depression is kind of like a bit like sort of depression by 1,000 small cuts. And they said that perfectly describes it. So what we want to do here is practice antidepressive moments as a practice. Still the mind and then bring in this positive feeling. And this isn't something that's going to just kind of change things like that. Oh, it might, but as a practice, as a little micro meditation that begins to allow your whole system to shift into this centered stillness with a positive feeling as a practice, and doing that 5 times a day, 10 times a day, coming back and resting there just for 1, 2, 3 minutes. Yeah. And one of the ideas we're going to look at is how do we expand this feeling of love, and particularly, so much of our pain comes from the way we think about ourselves, and the way we are with ourselves. And one of the ideas there with quelling the storytelling of the mind is we're going to stop telling stories about ourselves. It's the stories about ourselves that cause the problem. Yeah. And so, but also we can take this, for some of us, I think there's a real need to be practicing the self-compassion. And so I'm using the word love. You can use the word compassion. I prefer the word love. Taking the feeling of love for others very tangibly as an experience, and then really then embracing that towards ourselves. To really heal and break the practice of that negative storytelling about ourselves. It's very masochistic. Let's stop the masochism. And then we're going to, from that, having stilled the mind, centered the energy of the mind, expanded this feeling, we're then going to start to use the imagination, the catalyst for change. Because imagination isn't just breaking the habits, it's setting up and rehearsing new positive possibilities. That's what imagination is. That's what it's for. Imagination is the route to freedom. Yeah. Stillness, I would say, and imagination are the route to freedom, but stillness won't get us there. Stillness just stops everything from happening and creates the space for that newness to come forward. We want to make sure that's being born from a positive feeling, not from bitterness, not from regret. Yeah. Hence the emotion, love. And then we're going to rehearse the positive possibilities. Nothing changes individually or culturally or at a social level without imagination. As we say, as I keep saying, that's why Einstein said imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge, we're just repeating what we know. It's become imagination that we end up with new theories, yeah, new experiments. We have new bridges, we have new buildings, we have new laws, we have new works of art. People create new technologies, new companies that allow us to do things like this and connect from around the world. So the power of human imagination. I love that term, human imagination. It is through human imagination that we as a species move forward. And it's through imagination that we stop repeating things and create something new. That's what we want to be doing. So let's experience this a little bit here. We're going to do a number of different techniques here to relax the mind into stillness. I have a few other ones actually I want to do here as well now I'm thinking about this. But first, when we want to really become still and centered, we want to watch that we don't drop off into sleep. Yeah. As you relax the chatter of the mind, and very often we're going to see the vocal muscles are relaxed and the eyes will relax, and that's what happens when you fall asleep. That's why you go all drifty when you fall asleep, just before you fall asleep, that those two sets of muscles are relaxing approximately together. So we want to have both an intention and a posture for a certain amount of alertness. We're going to be sitting like this, but we don't want to be just letting ourselves slump, because then you're just going to fall asleep and you're not going to be centered in your own power. Does that make sense? Sleep takes over. So let's get the posture ready to do this. And the best way to do this is to sit back in the chair so that you have some support in your lower back, ideally. So your lower back isn't slumped and you're sitting well up. And that means usually having the feet flat on the floor, not having your legs crossed or something like this. Some of you might be sitting in the sofa a little bit slumped. I'd recommend sitting up a little bit, putting a cushion behind you or sitting on the edge of the sofa. So you can have this nice, because it's going to be much easier. It's very difficult to still the mind if you like this or if you like this. The posture aids. This is a psychophysiological system. Yeah. The mind is not, it's not how the mind and body connected. It's all one thing. Yeah. And we've got to stop this talk about the mind and the body. It's one system. As you bring the body into a certain alignment, the mind will naturally become more still. So let's practice that. Feet flat on the floor. Take the support of the lower back there. And then what we want to do is, what I'm going to guide you to do is to lengthen up as you breathe in, and imagine a wonderful golden string going all the way up through the crown of the head to the ceiling. Hold the breath for a second. As you exhale, keep that lengthening, and then, but let everything soften and fall away in the body, particularly the shoulders and the arms. So you're lengthening and then letting go. And the image, I know this is an odd image, but for some reason I like this image. It's like a long, slinky cocktail dress on a coat hanger. Yeah. That's what we're going for, that long elegance. Yeah. And so what we're going to find then, we're going to come very effortlessly into a very easy posture from which to become still. So let's try this. Yeah. And you can have your eyes open or closed. That's fine. So breathing in, lengthen up through the crown of the head. Imagine going all the way up to the ceiling. Hold and then release. Let the shoulders fall away, but keep that uprightness. Let the breath just do what it wants for a few seconds. Nice. Then once again, breathing in, imagine breathing from the base of the spine right the way up through the crown of the head to the ceiling, as if you're being held up to the ceiling by a beautiful golden thread. Hold the breath for a second, and then as you exhale, keep that lengthening and let everything else fall away. Shoulders, arms, everything. Now, keeping that lengthening, close your eyes and just become aware of how the feeling of the whole body is right now. Once again, take another breath in. As you hold the breath, focus on the feeling of the whole body and feel as if you're holding the whole body slightly. Feel like you're holding it, holding it, holding it, and then gently, very gently release the breath through the lips, very slowly, like letting the air out of a tire. Let the whole body turn a little loose, limp, soft. Let go, let go, let go. I particularly want you to notice how your shoulders and arms feel right now. as if each arm is a sort of volume of feeling. Like the left arm is a volume of feeling. It really is a volume of feeling. It's a volume of feedback from all the tiny muscles, big and small muscles in the whole arm there. And until they're completely relaxed and switched off, there's a lot of signals going back up to the brain. And I want you to notice, and that is the feeling of the arm inside. So notice the volume of feeling in the left arm. And now notice the volume of feeling in the right arm. So they're not empty volumes, are they? Maybe they are, in which case they're very quiet. But maybe there's a certain amount of activity going on there a little bit. Might feel like a bit of chatter or noise, or there's something going on there in both arms. Now I want you to take a breath in again. As you hold the breath, notice the feeling in both arms. And now I want you to feel like you're doing that. Feel like you're holding and slightly activating both arms. You're holding them, holding them, holding them with the breath and want to let go. Now release the breath. Let go. Let the shoulders fall away from the ears. Let the arms fall out of the shoulders. Let the hands fall out of the wrists. And let all of that energy drain out of the arms. So they become like two big empty volumes of space with much less activity going on in them. There's a lot of tiny muscle movements going on often in the body that contribute to our thinking. And here we're noticing them, owning them, feeling like we're doing them, and then letting them go. Good. Now let's take this a little bit further. And I want you to particularly notice the way your face feels. And we're going to work on relaxing the facial muscles, particularly the vocal muscles and the eye muscles. So I want you to notice the feeling of the face right now. So that's the feeling in the throat, the jaw, the tongue, the lips. And then now the feeling in the cheeks, in the eyes, around the eyes, and the forehead. There are 32 facial muscles. See how exquisitely aware you can become of the feeling of the face. And take a breath in. As you hold the breath, feel like you're holding the whole face slightly. Feel like you're holding the jaw, lips, tongue, cheeks, eyes, forehead. Feel like you're holding it, almost relax, and then let go very gently through the lips. Let the jaw soften and become loose and limp. Let the lips soften, let the tongue relax. Drain the energy out of the eyes. Let the eyes become soft and empty. Let all the muscles around the eyes become soft and relaxed. Let the forehead become soft and relaxed, open, broad, peaceful. Imagine your forehead widening. Instead of frowning, imagine the frown relaxing and relaxing more and relaxing more and widening out even to the sides of the room. So the whole forehead is wide open. Notice how that feels. And within that feeling now, smile to yourself a little. Okay, and then when you're ready, softly open your eyes. And if you want to, you can let me know what that was like. And, and I want you to notice how to do that as well. You take a breath in, hold it, notice the feeling in the whole body or in a particular area like the arms or face, and then own that. Feel like you're doing that. And then on the exhalation, let go. Because on some level, we are doing this activity in the muscles. It's not that our shoulders are tense. We're tensing our shoulders, but we just don't realize we are. So we notice the feeling in the shoulders and then own that and feel like we're doing that. And then on the exhalation, we can let go of that. The key thing here is to relax your muscles involves ceasing doing something. There is no signal to relax a muscle. There's only a signal into a muscle fiber that contracts a muscle. So if you want to, and if thinking is essentially tiny muscular movements, and it is, and we're going to get into that a bit more, then this is a matter of then stopping doing that. You're doing it all the time, like having a face massage. Yeah, nice. Yeah, Kate, and great that you're experiencing that difference of like relaxing, but with this uprightness. Yeah, Susan, that's fantastic about the frowning. And I am not averse to Botox. There's 3 randomized control trials showing that Botox will reduce worry. This is the worry muscle, and this is and depressive feelings. This is a big depression muscle as well, associated with negative images processing. So absolutely learning to relax this area, very important. But you then need to learn what it feels like to contract it. So just try frowning. Notice what the frown feels like. Notice that you are doing that. Does that feel good? Does that feel like how you want to be facing 2025? Yeah. What's that like? Take a breath in, own the frown. You're doing the frown, holding it, and then let go. Let go. Notice the tension. Let go. Notice the tension. This it's not it's, Erica. It's a little more. Notice the tension. Own it that you're doing it, and then let go with a breath. Yeah. Notice the tension. Own it. I'm doing it. Hold that with the breath. All wants to let go. And then after holding the breath and softly releasing it, do not push the breath out. Hold, long passive release through the lips, as if you're letting the air out of a tire. It creates a wonderful relaxation in the body, but particularly allows us to let go of the muscles. So you've experienced a little bit there of the muscle, of the facial muscles relaxing. Let's do a particular exercise now to stop the mind really quickly. And that is by relaxing the vocal muscles. And we'll do it with let's do it with the days of the week. We could do it with like John, Paul, George, and Ringo, and we could do anything. It doesn't matter. You count numbers or whatever. Let's do the days of the week. We're going to go Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But with each time we say it out loud, please, you're to relax your vocal muscles at least 50%. At least 50%. Yeah. So I want you to think of, the advert for the Energizer Bunny with the drums, and then the Energizer Bunny begins to run out of energy. That's exactly what I want you to do here. So I'm going to model this for you, and then we're going to do it together. This is, look, I spent 15 years studying yoga, studying the yoga scriptures, meditating, studying with a meditation master, and understanding the essence of the matter of all of this was the ability to still the mind. Stilling the mind is the key practice. It is the key practice. And then when I studied at the UK College of Hypnosis and Hypnotherapy, I learned all this stuff about muscle relaxation. I was like, holy shit, you can just stop the mind like that. So let's try this. Yeah. Because basically, a lot of our thinking is talking to ourselves. When we relax all the subvocalization, the subvocal activity here, the mind will stop. And you'll probably notice your eyes will close at the same time. That's okay. Let it happen. Watch me first of all. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay, I can nearly go off. This doing it in this way creates a really powerful, I call it a downward energy, but an energy into the essence beyond the mind. Yeah. And just rest in that. Allow your eyes to close if they want to. Let's try that. Should we do it together? Okay. You have to do this out loud. Ready? Sunday, relax. Monday, slur. Tuesday, relax. Wednesday, Thursday. Now let go. Let the jaw hang loose and limp. Do not be counting under your breath. Into silence. Into silence. Silence. Rest. Rest. Sink into that. Keep letting the jaw hang loose and limp. If your lips are still touching, you're not following what I'm saying. You've got to let the jaw hang open. Okay, and open your eyes. You should find that quite like, okay, opening my eyes is quite hard because you've really gone inside. When you relax the vocal muscles, the eye muscles will relax spontaneously. Why is that? Because the basis of focusing is language. Language regulates attention. Look at the apple. The child then, with the word apple, focuses the eyes. So when we're focusing and language go together, when you drain the chatter from the vocal muscles, the eye muscles tend to relax. Let's try it again. I want you to really notice what's going on here. Then you'll be able to, when you wake up in the middle of the night, Jessica, you just do this. Once you've learned to do it out loud, you can do it internally and you'll be able to go into stillness. Let's try it again. Okay. And I want you, that idea of slurring. Yeah. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I actually can't say anything. And you let the jaw, you must let the jaw hang open. There's research showing that if you take people suffering with schizophrenia with auditory hallucinations and you have them just hold their mouth open, they have less auditory hallucinations. You know, auditory hallucinations are not some phantom things going on in their back. They're talking to themselves. They're not aware they're actually talking subvocally to themselves. So, and also, if you get, a song stuck in your head, do this. Chewing gum will help break the song up because you can't, you can't be singing the song to yourself subvocally while you. So, do this. Emptying the mind, emptying the chatter. Let's try it once again. Ready? Again, start with a reasonably upright posture. So breathe in, lengthen up through the crown of the head, up towards the ceiling. Hold, exhale. Nice. Keep that lengthening. You all got that long cocktail dress on now. Now let's do the vocal relaxation. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Drain the energy out of the voice, vocal muscles. Let the jaw hang loose and limp. Let the eyes close if they want to. Into silence. Sink into that feeling. Sink into that feeling. Let yourself go deep into that feeling. I know it feels like a blank, black emptiness, but it's so restful. It's so peaceful to totally switch off the mind and rest in your own stillness. It's so healing. It's so healing. Okay. Breathe a little energy in. On the inhalation, as you breathe energy on the inhalation, it'll pick your energy up. Exhalation is relaxing, breathing in and opening your eyes. Keeping that stillness, you can be back in the room. And again, with that more alert posture, it allows you to go deep without falling asleep. But this is also a very good way to fall asleep. When you lie in bed at night, you'll begin to notice, if you can't sleep, how tense your jaw is perhaps, and to relax and soften the jaw. And let the jaw hang loose and limp. So tell me, how was that? Olivia, you said, does massaging in the opposite direction, the frowning that is naturally there, also help? Look, massaging is great. Hey, I'm always yeah, let's go have a massage. I love it. But particularly learning how to decontract, to let go. Yeah, nearly fell off my chair. Yeah, be careful. I'm not insured for this. Okay. So, did you experience stillness? Did you experience the mind stopping? This will, I can promise you, Ali, you practice this, it will. When I have clients, they come to see me, they go, oh, I can't focus, my mind's so busy, can't stop my mind. I say, you can, let's do this. We do it together. Right, now you've experienced stillness in a couple of different ways now. We have that candle idea. Can you get into identify with that now? Think of the candle. Yeah, it's wavering. And then suddenly the wind stops and the candle is steady. and your mouth is open probably. Your mouth is open, the candle is steady. Just that idea, can you just with that idea access a moment of stillness? Now, I want you just to not use any idea. I want you, I'm teaching, this is a very, very refined techniques in yoga. This is like the most subtle level of practice. I want you just to use your intention. Well, no, let's first just use stop. So one of the techniques in behavior therapy that was noticed was that if you say to yourself the word stop, your mind stop for a minute, your thoughts stop for a minute. Just try that. Say stop and let the jaw hang open at the end. Or mentally just say. Can you notice that? This is used in it's an exercise called thought stopping, and we do it quite loud. We go stop like this, and the mind stops. But you can just say the word stop, and the thoughts will stop. Holy shit! You can stop your mind for an instant. Now, you can use the stop then, and the more you practice getting into these moments, I don't want to call them states of stillness, moments of stillness, the more you can expand them a bit. Don't try and stay there too long, but could you stay there a little bit longer? 5 seconds longer, 10 seconds longer. Stop. Now I'm going to teach you a really esoteric technique from the tantric yoga tradition that's called stopping the flows. In fact, look, one thing you're going to notice with all of these things, when you really stop the mind, the breath stops. The mind and the breath are intimately linked. Your Western psychology hasn't got this, but this is kind of your yoga psychology, yeah? My breath stopped. Yeah, it took my breath away. What does that mean? It means stop. So just that sense, dropping the jaw and just stopping the breath for a second. Emptiness, stillness. Now, I know you can't stay there that long. You might not want to because, hey, we're all addicted to thinking, right? But I want you to become addicted to stillness as a counteractive to everything. Learn to become addicted to stillness. Yeah. So, and that does feel like a bit blank, a bit empty, a bit vacant, but get into that blank, vacant, empty, spacious feeling. Yeah. Stop. Mind stops for an instant. You are in control of your mind and the ability to stop it and center it. Using the posture here to become centered. Stop the mind becoming centered, sink into your essence. Now, I want you just to you can use the word stop, but maybe you can just have the intention. Just the intention for the mind to stop for an instant. Can you just do that with your intention, even without a thought? This is regarded as the very highest level of practice within the non-dual tradition that I study in. First, you use techniques, and then you use the energy of the mind, and then you don't use the mind at all. You just use the intention that's kind of coming from the heart, yeah? Your intention, stillness. But also within that, I want you to notice that you've had an experience of stillness now. So here's another idea. I want you to see if you can recall. See, when you have an intention for stillness, in a way, you're recalling the experience of stillness. Does that make sense? Otherwise, why would you want the intention would you wouldn't know what you're intending. You only know what you're intending because you've had the experience of stillness. Now you have the experience of stillness. Remember the experience of stillness. Remember it back in. Can you? Can you remember being still a second ago? You're just using intention then. The intention must be connected up with. My teacher said this. She said, I love this lecture. She said, it's not that you don't know how to meditate. It's that you don't know why to meditate. Intention. Why? This idea now that you can rest in stillness, that is perhaps the core of your being, or what In the Buddhists, they would call it the ground of being from which all the phenomena of the mind arise. You can stop all that phenomena and rest in stillness. Now, I'll give you one other quick method. I could spend a long time teaching you lots of methods of this, but one quick method here, which is perhaps favorite one, is letting go of the focus. So I want you sitting in that nice posture, lengthening up, long cocktail dress. Relax. Now it's a long slinky cocktail dress. It's not being held up. And I want you to pick something to focus on across the room. It could be the door handle, it could be a light, some specific point of focus. Don't let the eyes move from it. I want you to imagine that point of focus is like the center of a large clock face, if you will, but it's the center of your visual field. And you're focused on that point. Don't let the eyes move. Keep focusing on that point. And now what I want you to do is to become, without moving the eyes, become aware of the area around that point without moving the eyes. So this it's kind of you're sensing and feeling your peripheral vision. So just become aware 1 foot either side without moving the eyes, 2 foot, 3 foot, or if you're metric, now we're going 20, 30, 40, 50 centimeters. So you're widening the sense of awareness of the room without moving your eyes from that focusing point. I want you to see how wide you can go. I want you to really feel out to the edges of your visual field. Do not turn and look at them. Stay focused on the focal point. Feel out to the edges of the visual field. Now see if you become more aware of the edges, the edge of your visual field, and begin to let go of the focus in the middle. If your focus is really what you're selecting from your visual field, I want you to let go of the focus and just be aware evenly of the whole visual field, like a sort of non-selective awareness. I think of it like somebody plastering a wall and smoothing the plaster across the whole visual field. So there's nothing, you're not focusing on anything. The eyes are soft and defocused, and you're engaging peripheral awareness. As you do that, notice how the body feels. You might feel your eyes feel tired, they want to close. Let them rest. Do not fight how you feel. Never fight how you feel. Let the eyes rest. Notice how the body feels. Make sure you're not holding the tummy or the legs here. Just let them soften and relax. And the arms. So this isn't a spaced out experience. You're well in the body. And if your eyes have rested for a few seconds, you'll find you can softly open them now again. And again, just that sense of focus, widen, 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 let go of the focus. And then have this wide open, soft, defocused, non-selective awareness. And notice as you do that, how the body begins to soften and how it's a very pleasant feeling. I did this with one client. She said, God, I feel like I've come back home. I feel at home. I feel like me and the room and all my experience is just one thing. Notice a sense of, as you widen the attention, notice that there's no thoughts going on. If you've really followed me, there's no thinking. It's just this wide open experience. And I know there's the urge to focus and see what's there. We're curious to let go of that focus. Let go of it. Widen the attention. So the whole room becomes a blurry thisness. There's no specific it's, items in the room. It's just a blurry this. And there's also, notice as you do that, that the feeling of you feels more blurry, as if you and the room are sort of blending. And now I want you to very quickly narrow your eyes and focus. Notice something. And as you do that, bring that object into focus and notice immediately what happens in the body. Generally, people notice, well, obviously, there's a tightening in the body. When the eyes focus, the body tightens, the heart rate goes up a little bit, and suddenly then the thinking comes in. And then there's a sense of, oh, that's over there and I'm here. Now soften, soften, soften the eyes. Let go of the focus. Widen to the sense of the whole room as a blurry this. Notice what happens. And then once again, focus on something. Notice what happens as you focus in your body, in your mind. And then let go of that object and again let it dissolve back into the whole blurry background sense, non-selective open attention. Nice. And then now just let your eyes move very lightly from object to object in the room, but keep a sense of this whole background feeling. This is a lovely, my favorite little micro meditations, yeah? Dissolving the focus. Everything is about focus. When we dissolve the focus, it's like we become everything. Kind of. As Alan Watts said, yeah? You didn't come into this world, you come out of it like a wave out of the ocean. But that particular function, the key function that brings the separate wave out is focus and then language. And then relaxing the focus and the words drop away. Relaxing the words, the focus drops away. We come back into the ocean. Now I know that's a bit controversial. We're all one. Well, you don't have to go that way. That is more getting into some of the spirituality, but it's a very interesting idea. And let's just drop this in this idea in the yoga tradition. When we're stilling the mind, what is happening is the energy is moving into what's called the central channel. The word for that is the Sushumna Nadi that runs from the base of the spine up to the crown of the head and actually up beyond as well. And in the Sushumna, there's no thought, there's no time. That is like we've moved beyond the mind. There's no mind when we're in that. When the energy, when the prana moves into that. Now, normally it doesn't move there. It stays, and particularly in two main channels either side. And you've seen this because you've seen this as a well-known symbol in medicine in the West is the staff with the two serpents going around it. This is really basically the central channel. It's a kind of a mystical sign here with the two main channels that go either side of it, which are associated with the left and the left breathing and inhalation, exhalation, etc. So what happens is when the breath becomes very evenly balanced and very fine, the energy enters the central channel. But it does that at certain points during the day spontaneously. The breath moves from being dominant in one nostril to the other, and there's a moment where it swaps over. There are moments during the day when this happens externally as well, and those particularly during sunrise and sunset. In Indian culture, those are Indian spirituality. Those are moments when the energy becomes centered, and you can move into the central channel. That's why worship is done at those times, because you're not in the energy of the mind. You're coming into the energy of, we could call it the heart space. Now, here's the question: has everyone got everyone's got their own separate Sushumna, or is there just one central channel? That's an interesting idea that runs through everything. Well, anyway, so you get a sense of my sense of where I come from sometimes. So, stilling the mind. Now, let's work out how to. Now we've learned how to stop the chatter, at least to some extent, and maybe for some of you a lot. I'm loving you guys putting this in this. And Olivier, where you notice there's a tension, tensing a bit, take a breath in, hold that tension, own it, and then let it go. If there's tensing going on, you can let go of it. So you can combine all these things, yeah? Combine them and just play with them. Little micro meditations. Don't spend ages. Don't get in. So it's like, oh, I must do this. No, play, have fun with them. So cultivating love. Let's just focus right now on cultivating a pleasant feeling. So what I want you to do now, right now, we've been working with the eyes, and what I want you to do is, instead of having a hard focus, I want you just to soften the focus a bit. So, like you can smile with your eyes. Imagine you're looking at something very, very sweet. Now, that might be for you a baby, or it might be a butterfly, or it might be I don't know, whatever it is that makes your eyes get very soft and tender. you literally can use your eyes in a more gentle way. So I want you to look at something now with great gentleness in the eyes. Soften the eyes, soften the eyes, soften the eyes. Now, if you've got, if you have pets, particularly a dog, and you soften the eyes, you notice they will relax. They pick this up. The hard focus, like, am I going to eat you, attack you, versus the soft, I don't need a focus. So let's soften your eyes. As you soften your eyes like that, imagine smiling. And in fact, smile. Or imagine a smile inside, or imagine you can smile through your eyes. As you soften your eyes like that, I want you to notice what's the quality of feeling that happens as you do that. What's that like to soften the eyes, to smile through the eyes? To use the eyes in this gentle, warm way, as if you're looking at something, excuse me, very loving, very sweet. As if you're gazing at somebody or something with great love, with great tenderness, with great appreciation. What's that like? Peace. And it's right there, Katarina. It's right there, just in the way you use your eyes. Can you imagine that feeling now growing a little stronger? I want you to imagine that as you soften your eyes and you have this peaceful feeling, there's a pleasant feeling, there's a warmth to this. Would we agree? There's a warmth. This is not cold. We are not cold. There's warmth. I want you to kind of imagine increasing that warmth, a feeling of droopy eyes. Yeah, but the affect, that's the feeling in the eyes. But what's the emotional tone here? Is there not a feeling of warmth as you do this? And really also allow a little smile to be there on the lips as well. Just practice that. If you have trouble with that, then just do that. That makes you smile. You do that for 30 seconds, you'll notice you're feeling better usually. You're kind of forcing the smile. Why? Because, as I said, the mind is not a separate thing. An emotional experience is not a separate thing. It's, this is a psychophysiological system. So as you practice smiling, as you in practice softening the eyes, remembering looking at something with great love and start to all these things are being cultivated, yeah? And you can cultivate these feelings. Even my hands become warm. That's because your hands are becoming warm because your sympathetic nervous system, your stress system is down regulating, and your parasympathetic system, you relax and restore. And hey, I'm at ease. Hey, I don't need to do anything. Hey, let me just look at everything softly, is now becoming more dominant, and that will return blood flow to the periphery rather than get you ready for running. If your hands are becoming warm now, it means that prior to that, you are kind of getting ready for a fight, so to speak. I mean, yeah, when fight or flight, yeah, not in like complete state, but the fact that blood flow is returning to the hands shows that you're in a slightly stressed state beforehand. These exercises are superb little exercises for de-stressing. The focused and widening the eyes, softening the eyes like this. Now I want you to play along with me now and just let the eyes soften if you want closed, but I want but with the eyes, they're just dropping the jaw a little bit. I want you to imagine that, there's a feeling in the room now, like there's a kind of a perfume or there's an atmosphere like a mist in the room. Maybe you can't quite see it, but you can feel it. And that mist is this warm awareness, this feeling. It's like love. It is love. That feeling there is in the room. I want you to imagine now that we can turn that feeling up. You can soften the eyes and turn the feeling in the room, the kind of love in the atmosphere, if you will, or the warmth in the atmosphere up. As I count from 1 to 10 now, I want you to imagine turning a dial that begins to turn this feeling up more and more. 1, you can smile and feel a little warmer. 2, imagine that as an atmosphere, a subtle mist in the room that's becoming thicker with feeling now. 3, that feeling is getting thicker. 4, the room is beginning to feel thick. You maybe into feel a little drunk, a little woozy with the pleasant feeling. 5, drunk on love. 6, the feeling getting thicker and thicker in the room, intoxicating feeling, saturating the mind just with peacefulness, love, bliss. 6, 7, turn it up more now. 8, it can get stronger and thicker. 9, 10, the whole room is thick with feeling. Smiling just to yourself here, completely saturated in this feeling. I want you to imagine now that as you breathe in, you can breathe in a really special way that extracts the very essence of love in the air into your heart more and more. Like there's a super fine energy in the air, and you can bring it into your heart and then imagine that spreading from your heart through your whole being. I want you to imagine that is a color. Close your eyes now. And as you breathe in, imagine beginning to fill the core of your being with this pleasant feeling and give that feeling a color. Maybe it's golden light. Maybe it's pink. Whatever color. And have this little smile on your lips as well. Now, I want you to imagine that color and that feeling beginning to grow strong within you, in your heart now, beginning to expand and grow more and more. You don't have to focus on breathing in and out. It is growing within you, beginning to fill you up now, beginning to fill up not just the heart, but the whole chest, the whole core of the body, beginning to spread out to the arms and legs. Your whole body filled with that color and feeling now, from the crown of the head to the tips of your fingers and toes. Your body just filled with this pleasant feeling. Imagine that feeling now growing stronger, stronger, and overflowing out of you into the room around you. Imagine that spreading out of the room around you into the whole area around you, to the whole town. Your body in this room, saturated in this color, the room saturated in the color and feeling, the whole town saturated in the color and feeling. I want you to imagine that color overflowing out of you and filling the whole room, the whole town. I want you to imagine that color filling everywhere, filling all of space and carrying that feeling with it. Let the jaw hang loose and limp. And now just rest and bathe in that color and that feeling. Smiling to yourself deep inside, bathing in your own positive well-being, in your own positive energy. Good. Smiling deep inside now, and softly opening your eyes, keeping the eyes soft, coming very gently back into the room and being very soft and gentle with your eyes, with the room, with your body, with yourself. Softness. You can soften your mind, you can soften your focus, you can soften your world. And softness. In the name of the mystics in Islam are the Sufis. And Sufi is the word for wool because they are so soft. Softness. So, and intoxicated. In the Sufi tradition, they talk about being intoxicated with the love of God. You don't have to have the word God. You can just become intoxicated with this feeling. What does that do to you when you allow yourself to become saturated, intoxicated with the feeling of peace, love, pleasant relaxation, bliss? Every time you do that, it is completely kind of restructuring your whole brain and personality and neural pathways. I used to, when I was in India, every morning we had a chant. At the end of the chant, it would be a text chant like this. And then it was like, we're going to read. And then at the end, we get this ecstatic, we're chanting Krishna's name, and lovely. I like that, Tony. And I would have this feeling every morning of getting completely, it was my duty to get ecstatic with that feeling and just this joy. And I had this feeling that This joy, this bliss was flooding and reshaping the topography of my mind, my personality, my whole neurology. And I think, allowing yourself to be saturated with the feeling without thought. I do also remember watching Alan Yentob did that series Imagine on BBC. He was a director of cultural stuff on the BBC, and they were scanning his brain. He went to a neuroscience thing. They scanned his brain, and they scanned his brain while he was listening to his favorite piece of music, which I can't remember what it was. And anyway, they scanned his brain, and they were shocked. They expected to see certain areas of the brain light up really strongly as he had these very positive emotions, but they said like, "Holy fuck!" Like your whole brain lit up, like the whole brain was like lit up. Light your whole brain up with these positive feelings. You have a question there, Lou, or you're just saying hi? Yeah, see, you're accessing. When you say Kim, it's powerful, it means it's empowering. Yeah, it's empowering. You can do this. I lead you in it, but you can do this. Yeah, you do this. I'm just giving you the instructions. So, smiling. Let's return to the sages and saints. The great Spike Milligan. If you don't know Spike Milligan, then really, smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed around the corner and someone saw me grin. And when he smiled, I realized I passed it on to him. I thought about that smile, then realized its worth. A single smile, just like mine, could travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic quick and get the world infected. Really, that's something we can do in 2025, isn't it? And that's within our power. Yes, this is the teaching of Christ as well. So here we are. Now, I want to give you just one other quick little technique that came to mind here. It's in on the list here, but it's a very nice, gentle technique. Yeah. And I want you to imagine if you have asthma, maybe you shouldn't do this. Try it, but don't. If you have an asthma attack, don't. But I want you to imagine right now that your lungs are filled with tiny goose down feathers, like the very, very finest feathers that you can get, tiny baby goose down feathers. And I want you now to breathe in through your nose so gently that you don't disturb the feathers. Do it now. And breathe out so softly you don't disturb the feathers. Again, breathe in so softly, don't disturb the feathers. Breathe out so softly, don't disturb the feathers. What's that like? Did you notice how just doing 2 breaths to not disturb the feathers creates a very pleasant feeling and the mind is calm and peaceful? There are so many ways you can take control of your experience, become settled, calm, soft, quiet, peaceful. The way you use sweet. Yeah, that's lovely, Debbie. I love you pulled that word there, sweet. It's very sweet. It's a very tender exercise. And also this one of like looking at things with great softness and tenderness with your eyes. And then you'll notice that the way you even want to touch things and pick them up, everything. Be tender with everything. And then you'll go, oh my God, I'm such a happy. You will become very happy. And this is in control. Doesn't matter what the external circumstances are. So, imagination and positive possibilities. So, we center and still the mind. We take all the scattered energy and we center it. And then we expand that feeling, that empty space, and fill it with positive feeling, love, peacefulness, sweetness, positive, but it is a warmth. There is a warmth, yeah? And then from there, now we can let our imagination flow. And what we want to do here is envision the year ahead filled with creativity, meaningful connections, and that the year ahead Don't set yourself rigid rules or goals. Playfulness, playful creativity, not rigid goals. And what you're creating in your playful creativity is coming from your deepest heart, from your values, not from anything to meet anyone else's. Yeah. This is the other thing. When you still the mind and center inside, you get in touch with your deepest values. What's truly important to you, not anybody else, not society's stories, not your parents' stories, your own. You determine for you what is true and what is good. And then you create from there. Yeah. Being in touch. And this is also, when you say creativity, inspiration. Where does inspiration come from? It comes not from the scattered mind. It comes from arising out of that stillness. That's the deepest inspiration that comes. So the other thing that comes with this is, as you practice that stilling the mind, creating that pleasant feeling, don't then try and control the thoughts too much. Once you've created the stillness, so you've gathered the scattered energy and broken the flows and the habits, and you're resting in stillness and a pleasant feeling, now allow the mind to begin to play again, because now the thoughts and ideas are aligned with this pleasant feeling and your deepest essence. They're not coming from your conditioning. They're not coming from the conditioned mind. They're coming from, when I say the heart, I don't mean the romantic heart, I mean the center. Yeah. Now, of course, again, in my philosophical tradition, the word heart, hridaya in Sanskrit, means kind of the heart of the whole universe, the pulsing font of from which all universes and all creativity is made. So as you're accessing the center, you're accessing the creative power of everything, and that's where those creative ideas flow from. Yeah. So as you still the mind, center the mind, and then create this positive feeling, then allow your imagination to sparkle, scintillate with new, positive, pleasant possibilities. Allow your imagination to play, to sparkle, to scintillate. Yeah. So I love this quote, and many of you have heard me use it before, but let's look at it again from the wonderful Christopher Green. And I'm not going to do a whole intro to Christopher, but look up Christopher Green. Christopher is an incredible entertainer, singer, songwriter, artist. In Christopher's book called Overpowered, the Science of Showbiz of Hypnosis, which is the outcome of his their work as artist in residence at the British Library, where Christopher dived into all the British Library archives on hypnosis. Christopher produced a show from that and also a book. And it's a deep inquiry into hypnosis. And Christopher wrote some beautiful words here. He says, first of all, he's portraying hypnosis as playful imagining. And Christopher says, ultimately, hypnosis encourages all of us to examine our relationship with our own consciousness. This is less diverting and much more hard work, but in the long run, much more profound than men in cheap suits getting people to pretend to be chickens. At its best, hypnosis demands that we look at the story we tell ourselves about ourselves. It shines a light on that self-narrative and firmly yet gently encourages us to retell this story. And the possibilities arising from that are endless. I've boiled all this down, he says, to one particular construction. How would it be if? Now, I want you to close your eyes now and relax the jaw, smile, create that soft, pleasant feeling. Just listen to these words. How would it be if you were as powerful as you know yourself to be? How would it be if you were content? Philanthropic, a leader, a healer, a frivolous show-off, How would it be if you were healed, were free, weren't afraid of dogs or spiders or buttons or death or life? How would that be? How would it be if 2025 was your best year yet? How would it be if you took inventory of some unhelpful thoughts and beliefs and found you could easily change them into something more positive? How would it be if you had a deeper belief in yourself, deeper self belief? How would it be if you could still the mind regularly, several times a day? How would it be if you could smile and fill yourself with this pleasant feeling as a kind of profound, self generated antidepressant whenever you want, many times a day? How would it be if you could let go of all unnecessary tension and find your body much more relaxed, at ease, and smiling to yourself automatically? How would it be if you woke up in the morning excited about the day ahead, feeling proactive, energized, fresh, filled with vitality? How would it be if you felt that connection to the ocean, to the oneness? How would it be if you really felt you were an expression of the universe, part of it, like the blossom of a tree is an expression of the tree. You are an expression, a perfect expression, a perfect point by which the universe focuses and experiences itself and has taken form as you, just for the play, for the delight, for the drama. And whenever you want, you can soften and relax and dissolve back into that which you really are whenever you want. How would that be? Allow your mind to play with many different positive possibilities. Allow yourself to imagine many wonderful positive things happening to you and that you are doing in 2025. The whole year is in front of you like a fresh field of snow, and you're ready to move through it now. Powerful, warm, loving, creative, and playful. You embrace your playful nature. And maybe decide this year to have more fun. Maybe each week decide to have more fun. Maybe each week decide to say yes to more things, try more things out. Each month, each week, each day filled with new, fresh experiences, new, fresh connections. You connect with people. You let people know how you feel. You don't remain cooped up inside yourself. You naturally and spontaneously express yourself. Just as the universe expresses itself as you express what's going on inside you to others. You break the boundaries of privacy in some ways and reveal yourself to nearly everyone you meet and find a profound sense of community and connectedness with others, and whether that's with the family or with checkout clerk somewhere or in nature. You feel a sense of connection and connectedness through and through, and a loving feeling that begins to pour out of you, wanting deep inside to uplift others, to heal their sense of self mistrust and self doubt, and express how you feel. How would that be? When you're ready, slowly opening your eyes there. This is hypnosis. To become hypnotized by positive possibilities. To take the scattered energy of the mind, focus it now on a series of positive, pleasant ideas. Repeat them in your mind in such a way that they begin to, and they do create new pathways in your brain, in your body, in your life. And you can take control of this now, each day. Love, stillness, imagination, becoming centered, expanding the feeling, and then playing with positive possibilities in your mind. Don't try and stay in stillness, but you can stay there a little bit longer, but it's fine then too. And then all your thinking will be inspired. It will be aligned from the deepest part of you. Inspired. That's my website, which don't look at because it's really out of date. Inspired hypnosis. Yeah. From the deepest place inside. Becoming centered and going beyond. And I know sometimes it's hard to let go of the thinking, and it can feel scary to let go of the thinking because it's the way we control everything. Yeah, but trust it, try it. And if you found that a little difficult, find somebody to work with to do it. These techniques are very simple. If you find somebody from my team to work with, they'll be able to take you through that. This is what I like taking my clients through because it's so empowering. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I hope you enjoyed that. So, um, do come along on Saturday. We're going to build on this theme a bit more, particularly for those of you who've not done any self-hypnosis before. We're going to really show you how that all works and how to put together and then make a recording for yourself. Yeah. How would that be? How would it be if? Fantastic. I'll see you there, Wafa. Yeah, the recording will be available and it's live streaming out there on YouTube right now to uplift anybody that comes along. So that's okay, Becky. If you register, you can get the recording. And there's going to be a lot of resources as well. There's going to be a workbook with it that you can use. And I'm going to give you recordings and scripts, everything to create your own self-hypnosis script for 2025. And now you've got some of the fundamentals here. That's just going to be fantastic. Just going to be fantastic. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you so much. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Practice stilling the mind. Practice softening the eyes. You know, you can practice being happy. These holidays, things like Christmas and Diwali, I mean, we get too stressed over them. The whole point here is to spend a few days where we're actually going to discipline ourselves to be happy and express love. That's what it's about. Yeah. And so we stress ourselves with all this stuff, but it's really about that. Yeah. So go for it. Fill your life with this feeling and know the power of stilling the mind and taking control. Taking control. All right. Good night, everybody. Sweet dreams. Thank you for being me. Thank you for indulging me in this and letting me do my own kind of things. Oh, so for the Saturday event, yeah, let's just do that here. What I can do is I'm going to show you where that is on the website. Perhaps that's the simplest thing. But we'll give this in a follow-up tomorrow. But let me share the website here and I'll get you, and then you can see where to go to it. It's right at the top. There it says New Year's Day event. That's today. The second one, 4-hour workshop, self-hypnosis. Can you see that? And you click on that there. That takes you here. And I'm going to put that in the chat for you as well. Boom. There you go. And yeah, it'd be great to have you there. Love to see you, and bring a friend. Bring a friend. Very good, everyone. Thank you so much and allowing me to do all this strange and weird stuff with you. And I hope some of it stuck. Thank you from my dog too. I had to throw my dog out. She kept coming here and she kept putting her nose up and pushing in to get in. But anyway, good night. Sweet dreams. Take care. Yeah, bless, bless, bless. And happy New Year. Happy 2025. May it be truly happy and powerful in a positive way and prosperous for you. May it be a prosperous, healthy, highly creative, positive, happy new year.